With the evergreen deployment model that is Office 365, it's important that you keep track of the ever-changing, the ever-evolving environment. Now to do that, there's lots of different options that we as administrators have at our disposal, and we should really take advantage of all of them. So let's go take a look at things like the roadmap, the mobile app, and the blogs, as well as the message center. We're going to dive in and take a look at each of these individually. Starting first with the roadmap, this is a great place to go to see what types of things are currently being deployed into your standard release clients, your first release clients, as well as things that are coming up into the future deployment environment with the ultimate development environment that we're going to be able to see, right? So if I go and take a look at it, I'll learn about things that are coming before they actually hit my tenant account. I'll be able to see what is actually being produced out there, right? Whether it's launched, rolling out, or in development, I'll be able to track that change throughout all of the various stages in it. And again, for the standard release, which is the default option unless you change it, ultimately anything that shows up in there is going to be released and really sent out to every single tenant at that point in time. Sometimes it's not immediate. It is a global environment after all, so they may start rolling it out into different data centers, but eventually you'll actually see it showing up in your tenant. With the first release option, we're going to get those items where we've elected to be part of that first group of people to receive it. So our tenant account will see that before others. We can have it for everybody in our tenant account, or we have the ability to have it just for a few people within our organization. Then we have the Office blogs, but before we do that, let's go take a look at the roadmap itself and see what it's all about. So here in the Office roadmap, if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see that you get it built into different sections. First we have the launched, and again, this is for anybody that's part of standard release. All of these items are currently being pushed out globally to all Office 365 subscriptions. Everybody's going to get it, right? The rolling out is if you're part of first release, you're going to get these things starting to show up in your tenant account. And these things will typically show up a week to 3 weeks before they get transitioned into the launch section, right? So you won't actually see that in the launch section for a week to 3 weeks there. In development is really where you want to get an idea on what's happening, what's upcoming, what things are they working on. And of course, all of these nice little items give us little updates here, but if I click on one of them, you'll also see it'll open up and give me a little bit more detail on what that actual update or what that development's going to be for me. Now you'll also notice if we scroll down here and look at the bottom, we have some canceled ones. Because sometimes things show up in development and maybe it was a feature that you were interested in and it never appeared. Well, maybe it was canceled, and you can come in here and actually see if that feature was no longer put through. Maybe Microsoft thought about it, went a different direction with it, decided it wasn't working properly, or whatever the case may be, but it was a canceled rollout, so you're not going to actually see that. And then, of course, there at the bottom is the previous releases, 522. As you can see, it's an always changing environment here for us. If we go and look at the blog environment, right, the bloggers are going to give us a little bit more detail about the updates and the changes that are actually happening in the 365 world. And if you go look at the actual blog page, blogs.office.com there, we can go take a quick look at it. This is covering everything, right? So it's not just about updates. There's a lot of blogs out there. I think there's over 1,700 blogs right now. Well, what I'm interested in right now are Office 365 updates. Fortunately for us, at the top of the blogs page, there's a filter. I can go out here and say, okay, which product do I want to use? In this case, I want to use just 365, right? That's what I'm looking for. And right now, you can see now we're down to the 1,700. Then if I say, all right, well, I want to go out there and see just the updates. Now I'm down to 462. And now when I scroll back down to the bottom here, right, I have my updates in there. Now when I scroll back down here, I'm going to actually see just the updates for 365. And I can scroll through. I can, of course, also come up here and do a search for them if that's what I was interested in finding, is a specific update that I might be interested in. So it gives you the opportunity to get a little bit more detail than just a one line, a little summary of what's actually happening in that update. Now beyond that, we also have the message center. Now this is important because it's targeted specifically to your tenant account. There are going to be messages appearing in your tenant account to let you know what's actually happening with that environment. So it's something that you should really pay attention to on a fairly regular basis. In that message center, you can get to it simply by going into the admin center. Under help, you have your actual access to the message center. It'll help you know exactly what's happening with your tenant account. And it's important that you understand it has to be something you check, because there sometimes are changes that require some action on your part. Maybe there's a change that if you don't make that change and you don't update your tenant account, you'll lose a feature or you won't have access to a certain capability, right? And you're going to be warned about those. And typically they give you about at least a 30-day heads up when some of those things are going to happen. But it's in the Message Center. If you're not checking it, you're going to miss it. So let's take a quick look at the Message Center there and see what it's all about. So here in the Admin Center, I'm just going to go down and scroll down to my Health section. And under the Health section, you'll see we have the Message Center, and I'll go click on it. Okay, all I have are a whole bunch of messages that are going to come in and give me some information. There's different types, and if you go here to the View All Active Messages filter and drop it down, what you'll see really is the 3 basic types of messages that you're going to be concerned with. Plan for change is the one that's really important because that's the one that lets you know, hey, there's something that's about to change in 365 and you need to implement something. You need to be made aware of this, right? Stay informed is just updates, things that are happening, new features, new capabilities that are being released in your environment. And prevent or fix issues is also something that you need to stay on top of. So you can filter it down. If I wanted to prevent or fix issues here, I'd actually get the ability to see, here, new features, something going on with new Yammer groups in some way that I can help or repair my environment. If I go out here and look at my plan for change, let's see if we have any of those right now in our tenant account. And we do. You can see a feature update, changes to Yammer Analytics, unused anonymous access. Here, we've got a reminder here, removing Office 365 2013 version. So that's an important change for me to understand is that they removed that, and I needed to be aware of that so that if we're still using 2013, we could make a plan for migrating to the Office 2016 Pro Plus suite instead. So it's very important that you pay attention to the Message Center as you're working with the 365 environment. Beyond that, we also have the ability to use the Admin app. You can download the app from the Google or the Apple Store. You have the ability to go out there and download those apps into your mobile phones. And a lot of things will happen there. Number one, you'll get push notifications, which is awesome. If there are any service outages, things like that for the health, you'll get those wonderful push notifications. But I can also go in and dive into the Message Center and see what's actually happening with it as well. The support tickets, if we have a problem and we're updating it right now, right inside that mobile app, right at the palm of my hand, which is really nice. So that if I have my phone around, and typically, for most of us, our phones are always with us, right? If that's the case, I have the ability to have access to my entire Office 365 admin suite and be able to manage my users, see my service notifications and things like that without having to be tied down to a desk. So it's very important that we go through and we actually keep track of all of those Office 365 updates.